All right, today we're going to talk about something, a poison that's been around forever, but it's still a huge threat today. We're talking about lead, and we're going to treat it like a villain, and for good reason, because this toxin, it's got two totally different ways of coming after you. So get this. What if a poison was smart? I mean, what if it had two completely different playbooks? One is this sudden, super violent attack. The other, it's a slow, sneaky infiltration that you might not even catch until it's way too late. Well, that's exactly what we're dealing with when we talk about lead.
Okay, so meet the poison. How does this villain even get into your system? Let's break down its favorite ways in.
It turns out lead is kind of crafty. It has three main ways it can get into your body. You can breathe it in, think dust. You can swallow it, in contaminated food or water. And in some cases, it can even soak right through your skin. That versatility, yeah, that's what makes it so incredibly dangerous. And this is where we really get to the heart of its two-faced nature. On one side, you've got acute poisoning. This is like a rare, all-out assault. The symptoms hit you hard and fast. But on the other side, and this is way, way more common, is chronic poisoning. That's the slow, quiet invasion where the signs just creep up on you over time. All right, let's talk about that first attack method, the acute assault. Think of this as Leeds Blitzkrieg. It's dramatic, it's intense, and thankfully, it's pretty rare. When this happens, there's no mistaking it. The symptoms are just brutal. People talk about this weird, metallic taste in their mouth, and then, bam, this insane stomach pain hits. A colic so bad that, weirdly, pushing on your stomach actually makes it feel a little better. And here's a twist. Unlike a lot of poisons that cause diarrhea, lead does the opposite. It leads to really bad constipation and, well, blackened stool. It's a full-on, violent attack on your whole system. And just look at how potent this stuff is. The estimated fatal dose, once it's actually absorbed by your body, is just 0.5 gram. Think about that. That tiny, tiny amount is all it takes to be lethal. It's just staggering. Okay, so that was the Blitz attack. Now let's switch gears and look at the villain's other playbook, the chronic creep. This is lead poisoning playing the long game. It's insidious, it's deceptive, and it slowly, quietly tears things down. The really scary part here is that the first signs are so easy to ignore. You might just feel off, a pale face, especially around the mouth. Anemia, so you're feeling tired all the time. Maybe you're just generally weak and irritable. You might even have that same metallic taste again. These are just quiet little whispers that something is seriously wrong. But here's a really unique clue, something called the lead line. It's wild. As lead builds up in the body, it can actually form this bluish-black line right on your gums, right where they touch your teeth. It happens because the lead reacts with bacteria in your mouth. You can think of it like the villain leaving behind its signature, a calling card that says, "I was here." So what happens if this chronic creep just keeps going, completely unchecked? Well, the endgame can be absolutely devastating. In a small number of cases, less than 10%, it can actually lead to paralysis. Specifically, it attacks the extensor muscles. This causes a condition they call wrist drop or foot drop, where you literally can't lift your hand or your foot anymore. Okay, so this is a really deceptive enemy, right? So how do we fight back? How do doctors actually unmask this culprit and start to turn the tables? Well, doctors become detectives. They look for a whole combination of clues. That lead line on the gums we talked about, that's a huge one. Blood tests can show a really specific kind of anemia. They call it punctate basophilia. All it means is that under a microscope, they can see these weird little dots inside your red blood cells. Of course, they can also find lead in the urine. And for kids, it's even more visual. Lead actually gets deposited in their growing bones, and it creates these dense lines that show up super clearly on an X-ray. Once they've got a diagnosis, the treatment plan is actually pretty straightforward. It's a 3-step attack. Number 1, and this is the most critical, get the person away from the source of the lead. Stop the exposure. Step 2 is to help the body flush out all the lead it's been storing up. And then step 3, they bring in the big guns, antidotes. These are things like EDTA, and they basically act like a magnet. They grab onto the lead in your blood, bind to it, and then your body can safely filter it out and get rid of it. So when you hear lead poisoning, you're probably picturing, old Roman aqueducts or maybe Victorian factories, right? A problem from the history books. But the thing is, this villain is still very, very active today. And this right here is probably the most important thing to remember from all of this. Almost all cases of lead poisoning today are that slow, chronic type. And they're almost always accidental. It's happening from stuff in our everyday lives that we might not even think twice about. So where is this villain hiding today? Well, it could be in the dust from old paint chips in a house built before the 1970s. It could be in certain foods, like ghee that's been stored in old tin containers, or really anything cooked in older tinned pots. People who work in certain industries can bring it home on their clothes. And get this, it can even slowly seep out of old gun shop pellets that are still embedded in someone's body from an old injury. The sources are hiding in plain sight. And that kind of leaves us with one final, pretty important thought. We've unmasked this two-faced villain. We've seen its attack plans, both the ancient ones and the modern ones. The real question now is for you. Do you know where it might be hiding in your world?